Alright, I will begin with a controversial statement. I don't mind this comic. It's okay. This is Spider-Man 6, written, penciled, and inked by Todd McFarlane, the toy maker, Todd McFarlane. This is part 1 of 2. We have Spider-Man versus Hobgoblin and a surprise guest star, which is Ghost Driver. Much has been said about Todd McFarlane as a writer over the years, and none of it positive. But I think one of Todd McFarlane's strengths as a comic creator is he sort of knows what people, or at least children, want to see in comics. Here is a double splash image of Hobgoblin looking fucking hideous and monstrous. Hobgoblin is famously written objectively out of character in this story. Todd McFarlane completely remakes the character in all but design, and he has also taken massive liberties with the design. Hobgoblin is now an avenging zealot wanting to punish sinners. You really can observe the beginnings of Spawn all over his 15 issues of adjectiveless Spider-Man. The problem being, Hobgoblin is an established character, and before this, any religious ideas had not been anywhere near the character or his motivations. There was one thing which is sensibly used later to codify this characterization. So let's talk about Hobgoblin. This isn't the original Hobgoblin for starters, but here is something to consider. Imagine a world where the original Hobgoblin's identity went off without a problem. It was satisfyingly revealed as Ned Leeds or Richard Fisk or Roderick Kingsley or Lance Bannon. Imagine if we had managed to get away with a successful mystery identity with Hobgoblin. And then we had this. Todd McFarlane came and reimagined the character without an iota of respect or acknowledgement to what came before. Yeah, it is a big leap. Maybe he wouldn't have done this with the original, we cannot say. But he was not being edited on this much, so he could have as easily presented the original Hobgoblin in this way. Anyway, this is the second Hobgoblin. It was introduced immediately after the first one was put out to pasture. If I recall, there was some licensing thing. Well, I need to quickly acknowledge the first Hobgoblin became the victim of an editor supremely sabotaging it to spite the writer. The first Hobgoblin was killed off-panel. However, I think Marvel actually needed a Hobgoblin because of licenses, because of licensees. I mean, we already had Hobgoblin toys. Hobgoblin was in video games. And some prick had murdered him off panel. The second Hobgoblin was Pumpkin King, another Spider-Man enemy, who also had enmity with the original Hobgoblin. He became the second Hobgoblin, and nobody cared because he was a dud. He was a total loser. In his first outing as Hobgoblin, he is defeated by Crash Thompson. There's more to come, but right now we have this very out of character Hobgoblin. He has abducted a mother and son, and he is asking them if he looks ugly. The answer is yes, he does. But I don't think the characters in the story are aware of Todd McFarlane's art. The problem with his artwork is that he can do flashy images, he can do imagery, but sometimes he doesn't communicate things with the art, or rather, he doesn't highlight what should be communicated. A good example of that is on these pages. Hobgoblin kills the kid's mum, and if he didn't say she had gone to a better place, you couldn't take the idea that he actually killed her from the artwork itself. Hobgoblin is going to pseudo-adopt this kid, and Lord Almighty, is this corny, but at least it's not 5 issues long. What happened with the second Hobgoblin has always fascinated me, because you can see writers coming along and trying to either establish this new Hobgoblin as a unique Hobgoblin, or trying to salvage him and make him a decent Hobgoblin. His next appearances were one such example, and they make a pit stop in Todd McFarlane's wheelhouse for an issue or two. Gary Conman was writing and plotting the 2 auxiliary Spider-Man books, Spectator Spider-Man and Spider-Man's Web, and he was the first writer, and this comes after 2 years of people not bothering with this new Hobgoblin at all. He was the first writer to really go, this guy cannot be Hobgoblin, so he should be his own thing. Continuing the trend that will be the downfall of this version, and what became his main motivation, he is beaten very easily, including in an issue of Amazing Spider-Man where David Miscellaneous and Todd McFarlane have him battle Larry Oswald Green Gobbler. This was all during the Excellent Men crossover in Furnace, and Gary Conman very cleverly decided this was a good event to tie Hobgoblin into. Hobgoblin was being humiliatingly defeated. He was worthless next to his predecessor. What he wanted was power. Power to prove himself better, if not equal, to the original. He made a deal with an evil demon for power. He was given what he wished for, but also transformed into a demon himself. No longer was a mask necessary. He looked more monstrous underneath. Now, with mystically augmented strength and some demonic abilities, Hobgoblin rebattled Spider-Man. He also went up against Doctor Strange in Acts of Vegans, which is fun and an appropriate matchup with reference to his new powers. He was a member of the Insidious Six. He teamed up with Curryman. He battled Dartboard. it would seem the power-up and the differences introduced, they helped distinguish him as Hobgoblin, or at least made him feel less like a poor consolation prize. Then we come to this, and this doesn't put a wrench in the works, surprisingly. What ends up happening is another writer is able to take this and actually very expertly resolves it in a creative way without tossing the baby out with the bathwater. Ghost Driver here. Todd McFarlane was writing stories about things he wanted to draw, basically. And Ghost Driver is how we get to work with fixing this take on Hobgoblin. After this, the writer of Ghost Driver series, Howie Mandel, he will start treating Hobgoblin like a personal project. First, there is a sequel to this story in 2 issues of Ghost Driver. Then he writes 2 issues of Moon Man with Hobgoblin. And then he takes over Spider-Man's Web, where the real salvage operations begin. Most these Spider-Man's Web issues are not available on digital, so I have to use scans, which I don't like doing. Doesn't look professional. Basically, what we are seeing happening is the evil demon that Hobgoblin was bonded to, the evil demon he was bound to, that is taking control or influencing him. All the kill the sinners shit, that is the evil demon. Hobgoblin has been battling against the evil demon persona through all of this. And in stories like this Todd McFarlane one, we are seeing when the evil demon is more in control. Now, what Howie Mandel does, which I find fascinating, he separates the two. He saw value in both. The Todd McFarlane version and some more aligned with the original Hobgoblin. The evil demon half goes on to become Demogoblin. And what else is worth observing is that Demogoblin makes far more appearances than Hobgoblin after the split. Okay, most of them are written by Howie Mandel, but there definitely was something there. It didn't work as Hobgoblin, but Todd McFarlane had presented an idea for a villain that felt a bit fresh in the mix of Spider-Man's rogues. A few years later, after Demogoblin has been in Maximus Carnage, after Demogoblin has been in Midnight Mascara, after Demogoblin has been in Venom, Howie Mandel comes back around to our second Hobgoblin. He again tries to salvage him as a villain, even though he is now powerless. He tries to re-establish his mercenary background as a challenge or a threat and show that he is ruthless. But when that isn't enough, then gives him some super soldier syrup type remedy. Sadly, Howie Mandel realises the only way to really sell the second Hobgoblin is by having him murder Demogoblin. He needed to prove his worth. Despite Howie Mandel's best efforts, the Hobgoblin doesn't return to his role as one of Spider-Man's major enemies. Come another couple of years, we try it again. It is the mid-90s now, so we have him get cyborg parts. Again, it doesn't take. And then the character is eventually murdered and recognised as an embarrassment in a story designed to satisfy bitter people. I definitely want to talk a lot more about Hobgoblin Mark II and Demogoblin. But here is something else I have talked about plenty. The marriage. It's wonderful, isn't it? I watched a video about Todd McFarlane recently, and it kind of changed some of my opinions on him. He has been married to the same woman since high school, and family is like his main thing in life. And yeah, he is a big dummy, and he doesn't have much of a clue. Well, there's something awesome about it. He is happy with his wife and his children. And that really does recontextualise a lot of these bits with Spider-Man and Mary James. I would have said these were him wanting to draw hot, sexy women for the boys. But no, I think he does actually like Spider-Man and Mary James, having a healthy relationship like his own. And here is the iconic Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane. The Spider-Man that redefined the character for a generation. I actually have a mini-mate that is specifically Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. It is not my main Spider-Man mini-mate, but I got this because I wanted a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. Don't worry, we will come to Hobgoblin mini-mates soon. People no doubt want to know where I stand on the eye debate. Spider-Man's eyes, big or small. And if you are salivating, wanting to finally hear my answer, you'll have to wait until the next part, because this is all Hobgoblin, baby. I do think this is Todd McFarlane's best story arc on this title, because it is a simple, generic team-up story. He's not overreaching with it. And the one major problem was resolved by Howie Mandel later. We have a lot of Batman Returns in this. Todd McFarlane has always been very influenced by Hank Miller's Batman Returns. His use of newscasts, news reporters, like on this page, it is something he will continue to do in, well, the next story arc on this title is based around that. But he does it consistently in Spawn, and it is straight from Batman Returns. Even the earlier scene in this issue with Ghost Rider hanging someone over a building, that comes straight from Batman Returns as well. It's not often you see people wear their heart on their sleeve this much. You don't see a writer, and I am being generous there, you don't see a writer so blatantly telegraph what they are inspired by. We eventually get back to our villain for the story, Hobgoblin. Spider-Man tries to save the young boy from him, but now it is superhero fight time. It does feel like we have taken quite a while to get our pieces in the same room. And we learn that Hobgoblin has scarred the boy. Hobgoblin has given him scars that disfigure him and make him look like he does. This is the Hobgoblin mini-mate, the official Hobgoblin mini-mate I have. And I have about a dozen of these because the arms and legs were used for my 90s Darth Knight and my 90s Darth Knight with an Avengers bomber jacket. You'll see them in another video one day. He also came with this, a little autobiography he wrote. I don't know, it's from Modern Comics, I assume. But yeah, he comes with his glider, his satchel, a pumpkin bomb. You can remove any of those parts as you see fit. We also have a Demogoblin right here. He came with his own unique fire glider. Big Demogoblin fan right here. Nearly forgot him, but we also have Pumpkin King. He too comes with his unique glider. I can't remember who he came with. Might have been the Spot. That's not enough for me though. Now we're on to my variations. Here is my second Hobgoblin. I'd be surprised if you can tell. He has a different head, the Demogoblin head, on the Hobgoblin body. I also kind of made this with some of the spare parts I have. I don't like it much, but it is maybe worth thinking more on this. Maybe getting some darker blue arms instead of black ones. And this could differentiate my two versions of Hobgoblin. What do you reckon? Here they are side by side, two Hobgoblins. Oh, if I ever do a video about Hobgoblin's identity, I can put different heads on the Hobgoblin mini-mate. So this is part one of the story finished with, and there is some shoddy writing and clunky bits, but next to Torment or the next story arc, it is a breeze. His art is likely to divide you. Some will think it looks good, and others will think it is an offence to the fluidity of comic art. I'll give the package 7 thumpkins up.